if you type /W and then space the name of the character that you want to send a message to, and then the message, space message. Or if you want to send me a whisper, /W space and then the DM space the message there.
Already.
Alright, welcome everybody. Getting ready to start today's session of...
How do I send the message to the GM?
You can even do, I believe you could do /W space, yeah, try that real quick. Go ahead and test it and see if it works.
/WGM should work. You can also, if you whisper into a player, press the key and it auto completes the name, which is great, because otherwise you've got to try and type it in right with all the odd spellings or whatever.
Yep. Alright, so I got one message. Anyone else want to test that out if you need to? Alrighty. Alright, so you guys find yourselves in the small town of Loudwater. It's a border town on the border of the wildlands of the frontier. It's a population of just under 2,000 people. There's a couple notable churches in town, the Church of Lathander and also the Church of Kalimvor. There's also a pretty good merchant area set up in the vicinity of the churches, and there's also a pretty significant mage tower there as well. Scattered about the town, there's a couple notable places. There's the Bloody Scabbard Tavern. There's the where's my map? There's the Yawning Worm Inn. There's also the Bloody Scabbard. Notable source of income for this town is a big logging mill where there are logs that are shipped downriver via the Dantum River, where they're collected here in Loudwater and they're processed. Recently, there have been, you've been hearing a lot of talk about a lot of the merchant caravans that usually come through here and set up shop in the merchant square to sell their wares have been getting waylaid along the way, somewhere in between Loudwater and an inn off to the east called Burnside Inn. The city council here in Loudwater has put out a reward for an adventure, set of adventurers who are willing to brave the wild, set out along the road that leads to the east to find out the cause of the disturbances and put an end to it. With that, you guys have each been summoned to the council chambers, where the lead council member, Stanel, he's a human in his late 40s with salt and pepper hair, the trim beard, and he's all, "Welcome, adventurers. I have sought your aid in a matter of dealing with whatever is disturbing the road and waylaying the merchants traveling here to sell their wares. A lot of the stores within Loudwater are becoming desperate, as a lot of the goods are not coming through. The council is offering a reward of 75 gold pieces to each one of you for successfully finding the culprits behind this and putting an end to it."
I'm sure these raids are causing a lot of trouble for Loudwater. I've heard the merchants complaining myself, so I'd be quite eager to go and put an end to it and let the merchants get through safely.
Oh, do I have permission to kill anyone that gets in our way?
If that's what it
But of
takes to
course,
put
you
a
can
stop to
defend
it,
yourself.
then yes.
It always takes that.
Have these waylayers killed anyone, or are they simply harassing them and taking the goods?
I'm sorry, Valius. You were saying something?
Sorry, that wasn't me. I think that was somebody else.
That was Lafitte. I was asking the counselor whether or not these people were being waylaid. Were they actually being killed, or were they just being robbed?
It sounds like it started off as possibly bandits robbing merchants. But here lately, there have been reports that people are being killed. Their corpses left out in the open for the ravens in the area to pick at their corpses.
Very well. A most nasty business. I'll be more than happy to help out.
And I'm sure that before the quest is complete, we'll have to kill a few people.
Yeah, they always resist. I like it that way.
Right, so let me scribe down on paper here who I'm sending out. You over there, as he points to Lafayette. It looks like a human. Can I get your name for the scribe here?
Lafitte and Kai.
Okay. As the scribe next to him there, a small, scrawny man with some glasses, brown curly hair, starts scribing your name on a letter. He says, "Are you a resident of Loudwater?"
No, I'm not. I am
Okay.
hail from the land
Where are you
of
from?
sheep.
Alright, Lafitte. And the scribe also writes something else on another piece of paper, and he hands it to you. He's here is a toll pass in order to pass over the bridge south of here. That way the Red Silk Merchant Guild won't hit you up for a toll to cross the bridge. And he then turns his attention to the dwarf. He says, "And can I get your name, good sir?"
Okay, so when he points to the dwarf, which you guys can all see, is this ridiculously buff-looking dwarf. His muscles just bulging. He's wearing some dwarven scale mail, and he just has like this nervous twitch in his eyes. And when asked for his name, he jerks a little bit and looks to the person, and he pauses for a second, and then he replies, "Oh, Randuin Savagehammer."
And with that, the scribe, he kind of arches his left brow at you, and he kind of smiles at that name. Interesting name. And he scribes out a toll pass and hands it over to you, Randuin.
Thank you. I wasn't gonna pay anyway.
Oh, well, thank goodness we're giving you the toll pass. I'd hate for there to be a bloody argument at the bridge. Anyhow, this should qualm any disputes that may arise. Hopefully.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And with that, he turns his attention to the half-elven Valius. Can I get your name? Actually, you look familiar.
Yes, I believe we have met before. I'm Velius of Cleric of Lathander. I've done a few jobs around here, and I do live here at the church, and I'm looking forward to being able to help out again.
Ah, that's why you look familiar. Well, welcome. We would be happy to have you accompany these gentlemen on this mission. And the scribe writes out your name and passes you over a toll pass.
Thank you.
Okay. And then he turns his attention to the gentleman wearing some splint mail. Can I get your name?
I introduces himself as Arian Melendroth.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Vayreen.
Vayreen. That's an interesting name. You look a bit familiar as well. Are you a resident here?
Yes, I am.
Alright. And the scribe also hands you over a toll pass.
All right. I'll take it and tuck it away in a pouch.
Excellent. Alright. And he says, well, we have your names down. Once you take care of business, you can come back here to the council chambers, and we will pay you for your reward. Is there anything that you guys have questions about before you head out? Or are you heading out?
Is it just
right
up
now?
the river?
Actually, this road, the road here is about a mile to the south of you is where it starts. And Burnside Inn is actually about 2 days' ride to the east. So somewhere in between here and Burnside Inn is where these events have been occurring.
I'm sorry, you said it was in between here and Burnside.
Yes. Somewhere in between is where all these bandits keep waylaying everybody.
And how many days' journey do we think that is?
2 days.
2 days, thank you.
Is that on foot or with horse?
That's on foot. Chances are,
Very well.
actually, not chances are, but most of the reports have been coming from the region along the trail that passes over the Rakish Mountains.
I take it the Rakish Mountains are between here and Burnside Inn.
Yes, they are.
What time of year is it and what's the weather like?
Currently, it is just coming to the very end of autumn. Winter has been approaching. You've been feeling the cold bite in the air actually for a few weeks now. and there is a flurry of snow coming from the north. There's a lot of leaves and whatnot scattered about on the ground.
I think I'll try and buy a warm cloak or a fur cloak if I can.
Alright, you can go ahead and buy that. Did any of you guys want to do
I have
anything?
a question, Keith.
Yes.
When I'm wearing Splint Mail, do I still get the dexterity bonus to initiative or no?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe you do as well.
Okay.
Alright, so did any of you guys want to do anything?
How long have we been in town right now?
Those of you that haven't resided here in town, you've been in town for probably about a couple weeks now, looking for work. You've heard that there's work to be had, and finally you had received a summons from the city council.
Okay, in my perusing through town, did I happen to come across any signs of people who trade in my specialties?
Yes, actually, you have come across some members of in the local area called the Silent Hand.
Alright, so they have some form of organization.
Yes, that to do.
I would have introduced myself.
Alright, and with that, they would, after watching you for some time, extend you an invitation if you so desire.
I would have respectfully declined, let them know that I intend not to trespass on their area, that I am currently freelancing.
Oh, okay.
But should they need my assistance, feel free to ask.
Okay. Right. Anything else you guys want to do?
I want to pick up some winter clothing too. Is it snowing in this area right now?
Yeah, the snow is starting to fall. It's a light snow still.
Okay. How much would it cost for some winter clothing with like snowshoes?
Oh, with snowshoes? Probably about 50 gold.
All right. Cool.
Alright.
You said 50 gold?
Yeah, if you want the whole set of warm winter clothing with snowshoes and crampons and all that good stuff.
A nice, thick coat is fine for me.
Alright, you're able to pick one up for about 5 gold.
Very well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So you guys are, you find yourselves now outside the city council chambers, which is near the merchant center of town. Looking off towards the north, you see the Church of Lathander and the Church of Kellamvor, and in the middle you see the Mage's Tower. There's also a pretty good-sized main road that heads towards the south, towards the main gate, and you know that's the direction of travel to get onto the road that heads off towards the east. Scattered about in the merchant area, you see just a couple of merchants that are set up. Yeah, other than that, it's really barren here. Those of you that have lived here know that this is definitely very awkward. It's usually brimming to the. It's usually very hard to find any merchant spaces in the merchant square. The wind is howling, and you see small flurries of snowflakes dropping on the ground.
I put some winter gear as well.
My character would just buy some flint and tinder and some torches, and that would be about it.
Alrighty. You're able to easily find those materials. Alright, and so you guys are standing there, and you see a group of about 5 kids come running through, and you see they've accumulated a few snowballs, and they start throwing them about. One of the snowballs flies out, and Lafitte, you're hit in the back with a snowball as the kids are laughing, and as it hits you in the back of the head, they get all silent. They're like, "Oops."
I turn around, give them an ominous look, reach down, slowly pile up a snowball in my hand, and look at them in a childish grin and say, "Which of ye threw that?"
And they start pointing at each other, and then they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, no, it was him," as they point to one of the fat kids with brown hair. It's a fat human kid. He's all, it was that one," as he points off towards a scrawny looking elf, tall scrawny looking elf with golden blonde hair.
Okay. I ominously look at the fat one and says, "So it was you, was it?" And I turn, and then I throw it at the biggest, tallest one.
And he started to crack a grin as you throw it at him, and it smacks him center in the head. And he's all, oh, I see how it is. And he reaches down to gather up another snowball, and then he thinks about it. He's all, nah. He's all, let's go play hide and go seek instead. And the kids start running off, and he goes to try and follow after him.
Till next time.
And with that, they all start laughing as they disappear from sight.
I ball up another snowball and look over at Randuin curiously and playfully.
You get a look back at you, and you can just see anger in his eyes, and he clearly doesn't want to play any games. And he replies and says, "Oh, you know, that might be an act of war. Wouldn't want to have to hurt you." He growls.
I clasp a snowball in both of my hands, look directly at you, and with my fingers, I delve into the snowball, thrust my hands into the air so that the snow just filters out like a, what do you call it, like that basketball player with powder all over the place. And then I laugh.
My character is noticeably tense, but otherwise he doesn't react to your gesture.
I whisper under my breath, dwarves are a serious lot, aren't they?
My character doesn't hear anything at all. He's extremely not perceptive.
That was just more to myself.
Alright, and about now you guys start hearing some of the bells coming from the churches ringing. It's approaching mid-morning as the bells are ringing for the daily mass.
Are we leaving now, or if not, I will go to mass first.
Oh, I would love to leave now. Here it gets cold at night.
Very well, we have business to attend to.
Alright, so you guys are heading off down the road.
Yep.
Alright, so it takes you a few minutes before traveling down the main road to the south of you there. As you come up on the main gates and see it's awfully quiet. Usually there's a line of merchants trying to get in here to sell their wares. And the merchants, they eye you as you guys are leaving, waving to Velius, as they've seen you come through a few times. And you exit out of the town of Loudwater, heading south. You follow along the road for a couple of miles, and it starts to turn towards the east. And you come up ahead. You see a large stone bridge that crosses the Dentum River. The Dentum River is about 200 yards across. You hear the roaring of the water as it's heading downstream. You guys occasionally crunch on some leaves that have been lying on the road here for some time, and also you feel the wind starting to kick up as the snow. It's still real light snow at this point. And up ahead at the bridge, you see a guard dressed in a crimson red uniform, wearing chainmail, and he's currently sitting in a small shack off to the side of the bridge. He stands up and walks towards you. Greetings. A bit nippy out here today, isn't it?
Yes, winter's upon us soon, I fear.
Yes, it's that time of year. So I take it you guys are going to be crossing over the bridge.
Yes, we've a toll pass here. We're on business through the town.
Oh, okay, excellent. And he's all me. I see.
How was this guy dressed again?
I'm sorry.
How was this guy dressed again?
He's dressed in some dark crimson clothing, wearing chainmail, and he's
Any
carrying a spear.
recognizable emblem?
I'm sorry.
Any recognizable emblem or any type of insignia on him?
Yeah, he does have an insignia on him. You know it's from the local merchant guild. They're known for setting up tolls on roads and bridges in the area. It's called the Red Scarlet Merchant Guild. They usually build bridges and whatnot throughout the kingdom, and then in turn they they set up tolls to cross and use them.
All right,
Oh,
And anyhow, he takes the toll pass that you've offered him, looks it over. He says, this is adequate. I assume all of you have one of these toll passes?
Randuin pulls his out and hands it to the guard, and then he says, "Tollman, have you seen any of these brigands around? My axe is hungry for blood."
I haven't heard of any brigands, but to the east here, if you continue following this road up into the Rakish Mountains, I heard that there's some brigands, or possibly even worse, up there, who's been waylaying the merchants as they're trying to get through. Usually we've got a line of merchants trying to cross the bridge here, and well, business has been quite slow as of late.
At the mention of worse, you can see a smile form on Randuin's shortly bearded face.
He's all, you're one of them dwarves. He goes, now I've heard rumors that there's some old dwarvish ruins up there in those Rakish Mountains too.
The dwarf thinks about it for a moment, and he shrugs, having no idea because he's not from around these parts. But he decides to just kind of admit that he has no idea what he's talking about. So he just kind of nods and says nothing else.
And anyhow, he returns your toll pass to you. He says, alright, well, you guys are feel free to cross over the bridge. And good luck on your journeys.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll rid the... we'll be able to clear the path there for the merchants in future.
Yes, hopefully you can clear that path. I know there will be quite a few of us here that'll be glad to see the merchants return.
What kind of weapon does this guard have?
He's holding a spear.
Okay.
Alright, and with that, you guys continue on as you cross over this huge stone bridge that spans across the river. And as you're crossing over the river, the roar of the river comes up to where it's hard to hear you guys talk amongst yourselves, as it's coming through the mighty roar. You pass over, and on the other side you see another guard, and you see him sitting in a shack as well. There's clearly no one crossing from the other side, and you see that the road bends slightly towards the north. And as you guys pass by, he waves and says, "Have a good day, fellas."
Hey, you two, you've not heard any, don't know anything more about these bandits, do you? How many there are or anything like that?
Bandits? I have a feeling it's not no bandits. I'd wager that it's probably them damn orcs running around in Danton Woods. I bet you they're in league with whatever's going on along the road. That's my hunch, though.
At
Go ahead.
the mention of orcs, Randuin pulls one of his 5 axes off of his belt and clutches it tightly, leaving his other hand free as he looks over to his ally who's about to talk.
Orcs, you say? I've not come across any orcs around here, but I suppose it's well possible. I visited Danton Wood recently. I didn't see any orcs there, but we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, it looks like you've got some good friends there. And be careful. Hopefully we'll see you guys return here soon.
I ask him, my good man, has anyone else left the gates in this direction today?
You know, actually, no one has headed this way in the way you're going today. I haven't seen anyone go this direction in about a week now.
Not good for business.
That it isn't. I'm afraid of what it might do to this. What it might do to this town if those merchants don't return.
Well, we'll get this problem fixed, and we'll get the merchants back. Don't worry.
They'll return. On my honor, they will return.
Well, that's mighty noble of you, dwarf.
The name's Randuin. Randuin Savage Hammer.
And
There will be great stories told of my deeds.
Randuin, it is nice to meet you, as he kind of bows his head. He says, it'll be nice to hear these tales.
Indeed.
Well, blessings of Lathander be on you. So we must be on our way now.
Thank you, good sir. And with that, you guys head off down the road, which is heading north for a ways. You follow it along for about an hour or two, and you come up across a logging camp, and you see some woods up ahead as well on the other side of this logging camp. You see a bunch of loggers out there chopping down trees, cleaning up the branches, and eventually rolling them into the river to sell downstream to the logging mill at Loudwater. And you see the roar. Sorry, I can't talk today. You see the road here cut sharply to the east at this point. Off in the distance to the east, you see the Rakish Mountains rise, and you can already see the mountains are already snow-capped, and you see what appear to be snow clouds kind of lingering up in the mountains up there.
Looks like we've got a tough journey ahead, my friends.
So how far away are we from the lumber camp?
You see the lumber camp up ahead of you. It's about 100 feet to the north of where you're at right now.
Okay, my character will walk up to the first lumberjack he sees, if that's okay.
Okay, and you approach him. You see he's got a tree that has been felled, and he's going about chopping off the branches and the limbs, cleaning up the tree. He's got dark black hair. He's real tall, really built, pretty big, and he sees you approaching. Says, don't get many dwarfs coming up here looking for work.
I prefer my targets to be alive. But great lumberjack, what news can you bring of these cowardly attacks on your merchant brethren?
Well, we have heard some disturbing reports. Well, matter of fact, I don't know if you heard, but recently there was a band of adventurers that had come through here just a couple weeks ago, cleared out a bunch of orcs up in these woods here to the north. Rescued a lot of folk. A lot of us were imprisoned by the orcs up in the slave camps up there. They rescued us, killed a good number of those orcs, and I think peace has returned here. But unfortunately, I'm thinking they drove the orcs back into the mountains over towards the east. And I think the orcs are taking out their frustrations of what has happened upon the merchant caravans coming through the mountains.
I'll drive them back into the plains of the abyss, if you know what I mean. He grins devilishly and kind of just looks back to his party, wondering if they have any thoughts on the matter.
I think the lumberjack's words could well be true, that if you were rescued and another party went up there and caused some harm to the orcs, then they're the type that might well seek retribution and take it against less stronger foes. It's certainly a strong possibility, one we need to check out.
He's all, well, good dwarf. He goes, I wish you guys good luck. He goes, I wish I could be there with you to put an axe in a couple orcs' heads. As he reaches out a hand to shake your hand.
Randuin sticks his arm out, and it's just this big, meaty, burly hand, and you could just tell by looking at Randuin, this guy is like a fanatical bodybuilder, and he just grabs the larger hand of the human, and he just kind of crushes it slightly beneath his hand. And he looks his head up into his eyes, and he says, maybe after I've slain some orcs, maybe I'll cut down a few trees with ya. He growls and then releases the hand.
He says, that'll be good. I'll be glad to hear that. And it'll be nice to cut down some trees with you, fella dwarf. Because my name's Bryce.
Nice to meet you, Bryce. Honorable woodcutter.
Thank you, good sir. Well, I wish you all the best. And with that, he returns to taking off some of the limbs from the tree. He goes, I gotta get back to work. We got some logs to send down to Loudwater today.
Good luck.
Thank
I
you.
witnessed the exchange. I witnessed the exchange of the dwarf and the lumberjack, and I chuckled to myself and turning as I'm walking away. Imagine that, a dwarf using his axe for other than orcs.
Only when there are a lack of orcs, of course.
The day is still young. Let's continue on.
Alright, and with that, you guys continue to follow the road as it now bends sharply to the east. And once again, you look up at the mountains, and I see they're snow-capped, and there's some snow clouds lingering up in the mountains up there. Looks like it'll probably be a good day's journey walking from here to get to there.
I'll pull my cloak tighter around myself and brace myself for what's to come.
Alright, so you guys, I'm sorry?
I bundle my coat up around me. I look to Vilius, and Varian says, you're from this area. Hopefully you can find us a place to rest tonight. If the weather gets too bad, we'll seek shelter. Do you know of any place in this region?
I'm afraid my business hasn't brought me out to these parts. My business is usually actually in the town itself. Now I've been south a little to the woods. But
Hmm.
I'll certainly have a look.
But everyone keep an eye out then. We wouldn't want to get caught out here at dead of night in the dead of cold without shelter.
If you get cold, I'll carve up an orc sleeping bag for you.
I'm on horseback on Heathcliff at the moment, so I'll just small sort of scout around, just having a look, not really going out of visual range of the rest of the group, but just going to have no vantage points and things, just having a look to see if I can find anywhere that might be suitable, somewhere perhaps a bit sheltered and defensible that we could spend the night.
Alright, you head off on your horse, right out for quite a ways, still remaining within sight of the rest of your party as you're kind of looking about. You see just down the road, off on the northern side of the road here, you see a small tower. Looks like it's got a few floors to it. There's a pond next to it. And then on the south side you see a small hill, and you ride up on there to look around as well, and you see way off in the distance you see some sporadic farms scattered about, and possibly you see a pretty good size farm with a barn way off in the distance along the road. Possibly you could maybe seek shelter there this evening once you get there.
Okay, I'll head back to the group. It looks like I just had a look from a vantage point up there. It looks like we've maybe got a couple of options. The best one is probably that it looks like there's a farm in the distance, and I can see a barn just on the edges of it, so that'll provide somewhere sheltered at least to stay the night. And also, not too far from here, just over the ridge there, there's it looks like a ruined tower, and there's a pond beside it. I don't know if we want to check that out before we pass it.
How about we investigate the tower and then go to the barn for the night?
I'd agree with that. It could be harbouring some of these bandits or whatever they are.
Those cowards will probably attack us in the night if any reside there. So let's kill them now.
And with that, if no one has any objections.
Alright, so with that, you guys continue down along the path, and you travel for probably another hour, and you look up ahead and you see that tower. Looks like it's got a few floors to it. You see a pond next to it, and you see Danham Woods is just a few hundred yards north of that tower. And you do see some smoke coming from one of the sides of the tower. Looks like a steady stream of maybe someone's got a fireplace going there, and you see a light coming from one of the windows actually. As you get closer, it appears that the tower is actually not a ruined tower, but it looks like it's a habitable tower. Looks like someone resides there.
Well, I suppose we could still check it out if you like.
Randuin looks to Velius and Baron. He's a little bit perplexed that these two people have no idea that there's a person living near their town, and he simply says, let's check it out. Don't want that to bite us in the butt later.
Maybe we should send our rogue in there to scout it out, see if he could get a peek at who's residing in the tower at this time.
Good idea.
Is there any snow on the ground right now?
Yeah, it's just a light dusting, just barely covering the floor. It looks like it's just now starting to stick to the ground.
I whispered to the party, do you want me to scout out ahead, take a look at this?
Yes, please.
And I will cautiously approach the tower, looking at the footprints, any sign of activity having been present around the tower, and I'll be listening as I approach it.
Alright. So you start making your way up towards the tower. Not seeing any footprints leading up to the tower. And once you get there, you see a common oak door. You see a window with some lights kind of spilling out. You smell the smell of burning wood coming from the smoke within the tower. As you creep up closer, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to cautiously approach toward the edge of the window, try to peer in and see what I see.
Alright, you peer in, and you immediately see an old gentleman, looks like a human, with a long gray beard, rocking on a rocking chair next to a fireplace. He's got a book in his hand, with his back turned towards you, and looks like he's also smoking a pipe in there and humming some type of a tune.
He's the only one I see?
Yeah, he's the only one you see. You also see along the far side of the wall in that room a couple bookshelves with a bunch of different papers stacked up and some books.
Very well. Step away from the tower, start walking back toward my friends, and I motion for them to come forward.
Randuin walks up and he says, "How many enemies are in there?" And he looks ready to just kill anything that's in there.
Calm your nerves, dwarf. It appears to be an old man. Perhaps a cleric or druid of some type, I don't know. But an old man, tending to his reading by the comforts of a fire. I saw nothing of threat.
Maybe he's a wizard of dark magic. We should investigate.
By all means, knock on his door.
And with that, Randuin decides that that's what he'll do, because there's no way that whoever that is could ever possibly defeat him, because he's the greatest fighter in the land. And with that, he walks up to the tower and just, clear as day, just knocks on the... There's a door to get in?
Yeah,
right?
there's a door. It's a big, sturdy oak door.
He pounds on the orc door as hard as he can with his hand, and probably rings through the whole tower extremely loudly.
Gotcha. You hear some commotion as you've clearly startled the old man within the tower, and you hear something kind of drop onto the floor. And so, who's there?
And he hears from the other side of the door, "Randuin Savagehammer, are you a brigand? Have you been assaulting these merchants, or are you a simple scholar of some sort?"
Brigand? No, I'm no brigand. And with that, he opens up the door, and as he opens the door, you see a scrawny looking human. It looks like he's barely able to hold himself up, with a long gray beard, wearing some dark gray robes. Looks like they're ragged on the ends. "Do I look like a brigand?" He goes, "No, I'm just a mage, trying to make a living out here, studying my books, enjoying the company of my fire." He goes, "You guys look cold. Are you guys hungry?" He goes, Might you come in and warm yourself up by my fireplace? I got some extra bread I can share with you.
That's very kind. I have some fresh fish here. If you want, we could perhaps cook it up.
Oh, that would be most excellent. And with that, he kind of backs up from the door as he opens it up further. So come on in out of the cold. So come warm yourselves up. He goes, but no, I'm no brigand, as you can see. He goes,
Randuin is clearly shivering, but he makes no attempt to even sound cold, and he's like, I'm not cold, but I appreciate your hospitality, and he accepts it and enters.
Alright. He goes, my name is Canthus. He goes, come on in. And he goes, I don't have very many places to sit, but and with that he kind of goes over to a couple chairs, picks up some books, and moves them out of the way so you guys have a place to sit down at a table that's also full of books and different parchments and whatnot. Says, have a seat, have a seat. And he goes, I have a debt to adventurers like yourselves. He goes, as a matter of fact, just a couple months ago, I had run into a sort of some giant insects that had invaded my tower, and I was forced to live within the confines of Loudwater for some time. And bandit adventurers came to my aid and were able to drive off those pesky giant insects. He goes, so as a debt of gratitude to adventurers like us, he goes, I offer my hospitality.
That's very kind of you, sir. It's nice to know that there are other good people around who are here to bring civilization to these parts.
At the mention of insects, Randuin angrily spits in the fire and says, "Ink eggs! Terrible, terrible pests." Ugh.
Felix is slightly relieved Randuin spat into the fire and not on the floor. You won't say anything.
I look over curiously at the door. Ankhead? What is that?
Randuin looks perplexed that you'd never heard of the mythical beast known as the Ankeg. He pauses for a moment and then he thinks back to his younger years. Ah, Ankegs. They're these burrowing beasts. They spit acid and they dig all over your tunnels. Fine pest if you're a dwarf and you live underground. Oh, they're just the worst.
And yet another reason not to live under the ground.
But it is a glorious battle if you fight one. Alas, I have never had that honor. On my own, at least.
And with the talk of the Ankheads, you see Canthus, his eyebrows raised. He goes, well, they weren't Ankheads. They were wasps the size of a horse. Spiders. Giant spiders. Fully 3 foot around. It was horrible.
I have no love for those 8-legged things either. Especially the big giant ones.
Yes. Anyhow, it turned out it was my apprentice. He had run off after I had fired him, and he found some black ichor within the Denham Woods to the north, and he tainted the pond here next to me, and somehow I guess that ichor had made those insects grow to enormous sizes. As I tell you what, when they started to attack me in the tower, I ran for my life. I barely made it out alive.
Ah, but it must have been a glorious battle, feasting on the hearts of your enemies.
And with that, he gets this disgruntled look in his face. He goes, I don't eat insects. And with that, he goes over
Was it this
to a
character?
big loaf of bread and breaks off a few pieces. What's that?
Was it this character I used that helped him clean out his tower?
I believe so. I believe it was very.
Oh, okay.
You should totally know this tower then.
He slept since then.
Just keeping that to himself.
Because if my character finds us out, he's gonna think that you're hiding something.
I already do.
Alright, and anyhow, you see Canthus goes over to that loaf of bread that he broke into many pieces, and he offers them up a pretty good slice of the bread to each one of you. Says, here you go. He goes, I'm sorry I don't have much more, but this bread, it's pretty good bread from the bakery in Loudwater. The baker, Lenora, she brings me out a basket every week or so.
That's very kind of her. Yes, she's does make good bread there. I'll do we manage to fry up some fish as well? If so, I'll have fish sandwiches.
What's the time of day now?
It's afternoon at this point, early afternoon.
Still too early to settle in for the night.
We may as well see if we can make that barn, I guess, and continue on.
Randuin takes the bread, just kind of douses it in the fire, and then proceeds to eat it, and then he looks back to his allies and he says, "Are you ready to go hunting now?"
One thing before we leave, Cantus, we're here looking for the brigands, as you may have guessed by our entrance here. We heard it might be orcs. I don't know if you've seen any orcs in the area.
You know, he goes, I haven't seen any, but it was just about a couple weeks ago. One of the farmers down the road, Joran, he's down the farm, off on the left-hand side, about a mile down. He had said he saw some orcs running from something within the forest. It looked like they had packed up a lot of their belongings, possibly moving their camp. He said he saw them heading off towards the Rakish Mountains. Perhaps they have something to do with it.
Is that the same farmhouse we saw earlier? The barn?
The one with the barn that Velius saw was actually further down the road. There was a couple farms scattered sporadically in the horizon down along the road towards Rakish Mountains. You saw the farm with the big barn. It's probably about a good 8 to 10 miles down the road from here.
I see. So the orcs were running towards the Rakish Mountains, and the Rakish Mountains are where the merchants have been attacked.
Yes, that's what I do believe.
Randuin looks to the wizard for one last piece of advice, and he asks, "Do you know where the closest base of operations we could use near those mountains is? Is it that farm?"
Anyhow, he goes, "Oh, you mean the Jurgish farm? The one with that big barn? Way down the road?" Says, that'd probably be your closest closest place to work out of as a base from Rakish Mountains. Unless you get on the other side of the mountains, then there's Burnside Inn on the other side of the mountains there.
Well, I am a mountain dwarf. I do not want to go around the mountain. I believe we'll go to this one and seek shelter there. And then he looks to his allies to see if they agree or disagree with his course of action.
I think heading off to that barn and if that puts us closer to where we need to go sounds like a good stopping point.
Alright. Looks like Varen's taking a bio break. You guys want to take a quick break for a few minutes?
Sure, okay. Just fill my drink up.
Okay.
Well, out of character, I know he's not a human, but I'm not sure how he's presenting himself in game.
Okay, yeah, I missed his description of his character.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he said his character looked like.
You know, all I got was split now.
I was super jealous he got split now, but then I remembered he was old too, so I stopped being jealous.
Oh, that's right, changeling guy, okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with changelings because they're not a standard race. And how do they work? Or how do they look or whatever?
Yeah, same here, I didn't even realize that was a race component. But I've heard of them in other cases.
It's a standard race for Eberron. The campaign setting is where they initially came in at. They're basically a doppelganger.
They came from Eberron?
Yeah.
But what I mean is, in your current form, do you look like a human? Or something else?
Yeah.
Do you look like a changeling?
No, he takes on a human appearance. He's about 5'7", 132 pounds.
And your character is making no effort to tell us that you're a changeling?
No, he keeps that a secret.
Okay.
Are changelings in the 5th edition?
I don't think
Keith
so.
had.
Yeah, actually, Mike Merles had posted an article on the Wizards Coast to update 5th edition for Eberron, and they had the stats in there.
Gotcha, good. Yeah, I know 5th edition is wide open for all the different genres of gaming out there. I just haven't met a changeling yet.
Gotcha.
If you get a link that'd be cool, but I'm not too worried either way, since my character's not supposed to know this anyway.
He's a human.
I'm gonna think he's a monster if he changes form. I'll tell you that. We're waiting on somebody, or are they going back, or what's going on?
Let's see if everyone's back.
Didn't you grow up in this town with him?
No, a dwarf. I do not live here.
Velius and Varian grew up together, right? Maybe not knowing each other, but in this town.
We
Yeah.
do know each other from previously.
Yeah, I believe so.
We have been adventuring with Varian before. A friend of mine.
Okay, it looks like everyone's back. Alright, so I believe you guys were thinking of heading out and trying to make the Jurgish farm with the large barn for the evening, is that correct?
Yeah.
Alright, so you guys set off to leave, and Canthus, he bids you all farewell, and he's all good luck on your journey, adventurers. Hopefully I will see you another day.
I thank him for his hospitality and his food, and say that if he should ever need our assistance, just shoot up a firework or whatever you may just do.
Ah, okay, that I can do.
Randuin thanks him as well, but after thanking him, he looks to him and says, "Are there any souvenirs you want, Mr. Wizard?" And he laughs after asking.
He goes, well, since you're going up into Rakish Mountains, if you run across a griffin, I could use a griffin beak for some components.
Well, be sure to keep that in mind.
Ah, most excellent. He goes, I would happily reimburse you for your time on that.
At the mention of a griffin beak, Randuin kind of pauses for a moment and thinks it over. And he's torn because he would love to just kill the beast, but he also knows that griffins are somewhat noble creatures. Perhaps not in spirit, but noble in at least appearance, and he's not sure what to do. And he just silently walks out of the place.
Well, blessings of Lathander be upon you, sir. So as I head out.
Alright.
As we leave the tower, move about 100 yards or so down the road, I chuckle to myself, look over at the dwarf, and I go, a griffin? Why don't he just ask for a dragon's tooth while he's at it? I'm dead.
Well, hopefully we won't meet a griffin. We'll worry about it if we do.
Alright, so you guys settle off, heading towards the east once again along the road, and you feel the wind whipping at your clothes as you guys pull your cloaks tighter. And it looks like the snow is still coming down, just real light. Still just a dusting of snow on the ground. And you travel for a couple of hours, and you see up ahead, probably a couple miles further down the road, you see the Jurgish farm with the barn looming there. And once again you see the mountains, and you see dark gray clouds actually starting to blow in from the north as well. Every once in a while you'll see a brief flash of lightning within the clouds moving in. Looks like there's probably a storm moving in tonight.
Well, hopefully we can make that barn.
Alright, you guys press on for a couple more miles of travel, and you eventually see coming up on the right-hand side of the road, the Jurgish farm. You see a couple scarecrows out in some wheat fields that are covered with some snow, and you see some sheep in a pen next to the barn, and you see a gentleman probably in his mid-30s. He's a human. He's got long brown hair, and he's got a hoe in his hand as he's working the field a bit out in the snow. He sees you guys and he waves.
Randuin waves back and approaches first, and he says, "Are you Jurgich of Jurgich Farms?"
He goes, "Yes, I'm Jurgish." He goes, "What can I do for you, gentlemen, today?" As he kind of looks all of you over.
We're investigating the disappearance and attacks on merchants. We met the Mage Cantus not long ago, and he said that you might be kind enough to perhaps let us stay in your barn overnight.
Oh, well, yeah, I'd actually be glad to have you guys stay here on the farm for tonight or whatnot. I've seen some creatures flirting about in the middle of the night. I've been kind of worried about a possible attack on my farm. I'd be glad to put you guys up in the barn tonight. Because as a matter of
Thank
fact,
you kindly.
I'll have my wife Helda, I'll have her cook us up a nice stew for tonight. And we'll get you guys some good bedding. Make sure you guys are nice and warm tonight.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. It's freezing out here. Biting winds.
He says,
Randuin looks to the... you go.
What's that, Randuin?
Randuin looks the farmer over and asks if perhaps he has a shovel he can use to help clear his land for him in payment for his hospitality.
He's all, no good, sir. He goes, I can take care of it. He goes, I think your services would better be used elsewhere investigating. He goes, perhaps after you take care of that, if you would like to help out, I'd be willing to reimburse you. He goes, but there's no need. He goes, I got this.
It's clear that Randuin really just wants to manhandle the shovel, but he doesn't say anything else, and he lets everyone else continue.
Gotcha. He's all, well, go ahead and make yourselves out comfortable out there in the barn. You see it's a pretty good sized barn, and it's got a nice sized loft in there. There's several cows in there, probably milking cows, and a few horses. And with that, as you guys head off towards the barn, you see him takes his hoe and heads off towards the house. And you see a blonde-headed woman with some pigtails. She exits out of the door, and you see them two briefly chat with one another. You see she looks at you guys over, and she's got a smile on her face as she enters into the house to start cooking up some stew for y'all.
I'll say a quick prayer to Lathander for obviously looking out for us and allowing us to find somewhere so we're good to stay so far from home.
Randuin looks to the cleric and his consistent prayers to Lathander, but says nothing, at least noting that he is at least dedicated to a greater power than himself.
Does my dwarf friend wear any symbols or insignia on his armor, shield, weapon?
He doesn't have anything overt. There are a few symbols. One of perhaps his old military rank when he was in the military, and perhaps there was an insignia of his clan, but it's been long since carved out of his armor. And there may be there's like one symbol on his armor, but it's not of any normal deity that you would know of. At least not a divine deity.
Alright, it's good enough for me. This barn, is it a single level or dual level?
It's got 2 levels. It's got a nice sized loft up top.
Well, I'm going to hurry my spot in the loft.
Randuin knows a little bit about these type of places, and he decides that it would be warmer to just sleep in the hay in the ground next to one of the animals to keep him warm at night. He doesn't care that much about getting filthy.
So he's going to lie with the sheep.
Dude, sheep are warm. They got built-in coating. Come on. But the sheep are outside, though, right?
Yeah, the sheep are in a pen outside. Looks like there's a small opening in the barn where they can seek shelter. Looks like they're outside trying to eat up some grass out in the pasture.
Sheep pillows tonight. Yeah.
How many more hours can we guess until sundown?
There's probably about another hour's worth of sunlight before it sets.
Alright, well, before sundown comes, I'm going to take a little jaunt around the property, not too far away, and just casually look around and see if I see signs of other animals and things of that might note concern.
Alright. So you head off, jaunting around the area, looking around. While you're doing that, what are you doing, Varen?
Oh, I got kind of lost. I'm just hanging around, keeping an eye out, waiting to be needed.
So you guys are at a barn. The farmer here has graciously let you guys stay in the barn for the evening, and his wife Helda is cooking up some stew for y'all.
I suppose I'll hang out in the barn and wait to eat.
Okay. And then Valius, you were going upstairs into the loft to set up an area for you to sleep for tonight.
That's right, yeah, and I'll do some take the opportunity to pray and prepare for what's to come.
Alright, and Randuin, what were you doing?
Randuin is just in the barn, and he's looking at all the different ways that somebody might be able to sneak into this barn. And he's paranoid, and he's just trying to count all the different ways he could get snuck upon. And there's the main entrance, and he also keeps a mental notes of the sheep entrance in case someone tries to get in through there. And it's just really, he doesn't have any evidence that this would happen, but he's just constantly paranoid of all the different ways someone might come after him. Are there any other ways that someone might sneak in here?
Yeah, upstairs in the loft, there's also a doorway, sliding doorway that's actually pulled close over the front main doors. So there's that entrance. And then you also see loose board in the backside of the barn that someone sneaky enough could possibly sneak through that loose board as well.
Is there anything that he could just kind of move around to cover that? Because he just knows someone's going to try to sneak in the night and do some crazy stuff. He's just crazy.
Yeah, there's a stack of hell bays, not bays of hell, hay bales.
Base.
You can stack up in front of it.
He literally just like rearranges and stacks up as many hay bales as he can possibly manage. Basically getting them stacked up about 6 feet, because that's as high as his arms can reach.
Okay. Alright, and then Lafayette, he's out walking around the area. As you're walking around, Lafayette, especially off towards the very eastern side of the farm, walking way out there in some of the fields, you notice a large muddy trail of footprints. It looks like it's probably been made sometime today. Look like they're humanoid. Look like there was probably about half a dozen of them. Looks like, as you're studying the footprints, it looks like they hid off into the mountains to the east. Yeah, it looks like they came from the north, off towards from Downham Woods.
They appear to have come this direction and turned around and went back.
It looks like they skirted along the farm here and continue on into the mountains to the east.
Alright, would I have any skill or knowledge in able to ascertain what kind of tracks these are?
Give me a survival check in the dice tower, and we'll see if you can ascertain exactly what type of tracks they are.
Well, first check of the game, guys. First check.
Yep.
Did it work?
Nope.
Remember last time we couldn't get it to work in the tower?
Yeah.
Can you just drop it into the chat?
Yeah, you could just double click it then.
Just go to the dice and just drop it in the chat box.
Or just double click it.
Awesome!
Nice.
Come combat, you'll never see those.
Your character has no modifier at all? No wisdom or no training?
Nope.
Alright, you take a look at them, and you're confident that how small they are, but yet they're humanoid. They're probably some type of a goblin.
Nasty little buggers. You best be back to let the people know. And that's exactly what I did. Go back and tell the dwarf right off the bat, then my fellow comrades.
Randuin, upon hearing this, he just feels vindicated knowing that he knew this was going to happen all along. And he takes a mental note that in the middle of the night, once everyone's gone to bed, he's going to bar up the sheep entrance as well with any remaining bales of hay. And he's going to try to keep a nervous eye on the entrance to the main door before he goes to sleep. And maybe even have to set up watches if it's necessary.
Okay.
Did we notice any bugs on this farm?
Any what?
Any dogs?
No, it doesn't look like there's any dogs here.
The family doesn't own the dog at all.
Gotcha. Okay, so about the time you're letting the rest of your party know about this, you see Hilda as she approaches with her blonde hair and pigtails. She's wearing a white dress with blue stripes running down her dress as she enters in with a big pot of some bubbling stew. And she brings it in, and she's also trying to hold another stack of some bowls with some spoons in it. She brings it in. She goes, "I heard you boys were probably hungry, so I cooked you up some lamb stew here."
Splendid, thank you ever so much. It'll really warm me up.
And she goes, "Here's some bowls and spoons." And she looks off, looking at the sky. She goes, "It's gonna be dark soon." She's all, "Well, I'm gonna have to hurry up, and we gotta start boarding up the house, get ready for tonight." She's all.
Before she leaves, Randuin, in a paranoid manner, just says, there be goblins about. Keep an eye out."
And with that, she gets a worried look on her face. She goes, "Goblins? You've seen them?" "Oh, no."
Don't fret, young maiden. We're here to protect you.
"Oh, thank you." And with that, she starts to hurriedly run off towards the house. And you hear her slam the door shut as you guys kind of peer out and see them starting to close up the windows and shutter them up.
Well, I suppose it's good to be cautious.
Alright, so y'all grab a bite of the lamb stew. You see Randuin going about blockading some of those entrances.
After the sheep get in, of course.
Gotcha. Yep, so you now have, there's about 4 sheep in the pen there, as they're kind of huddling up with one another to stay warm.
Once we settle into the barn, I'm going to go up to the second level of the loft, try to find a wooden or a window of sorts, crack it open so that I can peer out and kind of keep watch for it.
Alright, there is a sliding door up over the top, up in the loft area that looks out through the front entrance of the barn. You can kind of slide it open a crack to keep an eye out that way.
Does it open in the direction where I saw the tracks?
No, the tracks are on the back side of the barn.
Okay, well then I'll go to the back side, try to loosen the board so that I can look out. Just a slit of one of the slits in the side of the barn. I don't want to tear it apart, I just want to pop it loose and see if I can look out.
Alright, you're able to easily do so.
Too bad I don't see too well in the dark.
Randuin can see very well in the dark, but he's so not perceptive that he probably would just mistake everything as a threat.
If it moves, shoot it.
And with that, night approaches as the sun finally sets. Alright, are you guys going to close the doors to the main door here to the barn? Or are you going to keep them open?
No, we could do them locked and, well, yeah, locked. I think that would be nice for us to be able to get out, say if the main farm building starts to get attacked, I don't know. Or if someone sets a light to the barn.
Okay.
So probably, is there a bar or something that's dropped down?
Yeah, there's a big wooden board next to the 2 doors that open up that you can use to bar the door shut.
Okay. And are we going to set watches?
Okay.
I'd like to do a watch, I think. don't know if everyone else agrees.
Yeah, is there a specific amount of people that we need to do a watch? Or are you kind of like okay with as long as it's like whatever?
However you guys want to do it.
That's all the risk that we take.
Exactly.
Well, since we're in a confined close, one should probably do. That's my 2 cents. And probably people who can see in the dark might be useful.
Well, Randuin offers to take the second half of the watch because he figures that that's when the most danger will be, and that he doesn't trust anyone else to stay up that late. So he says he basically volunteers to take the second half.
I prefer to take the. Didn't just take. So I prefer to take the last watch because I like to get up to greet the dawn and say my prayers anyway. So I'll be happy to sleep first and then take the very last watch.
Okay, so that's Randuin and Velius for second watch.
Should I put it on the.
Before we prepare to bed down for the evening, before we close the door, there's one other additional little kind of trick I want to do involving strings and bells. I want to lay out a pair of strings that goes about 5 feet from the edge of the barn out to about 5 feet stake and put a bell on it. So if anything should walk around that bar, it's a simple little tripwire, and just to ring the bell if they hit it.
Okay.
And I will set that up so it's just on the side where I have the splintered piece of wood opened up, and I'll try to lay down and bed down near there.
All right. So you're going to be are you going to be taking one of the watches?
No.
Okay. All right. Varen, what are you going to be doing?
Unless the party thinks I need to.
Gotcha.
On my watch, I'm going to... I'll just patrol around the barn.
Okay, so you're going to take a watch, first watch then?
Yeah,
That'd be helpful if you could.
I'll make slow rotations.
I would have pointed out this little trip wire to the rest of the party to let them know if they hear the bell going off. That's what it's for.
Okay. Alright, so we have Varen on first watch, and then Randuin and Velius on second watch, correct?
We could split it
Yes.
into 3 watches, so.
Okay. You want to do 3
that's
watches?
Varen.
Are you guys the ones that are in a group of 2? Are you patrolling together?
Randuin would not go outside at all. He would stay inside and just paranoid, watch everything around him. So he doesn't want to get caught out in the open.
On my watch, I'll go out occasionally, but I'll come back into the barn because it'll be freezing by then. So I'll probably just sort of venture out, wander around the barn, see if I can see anything suspicious, and come back probably every half hour or so.
Did we light torches or lanterns or anything inside the barn?
There are a
I
couple
have dark
lanterns you
vision,
can use.
Well, that's my point. Are we going to sit in the barn and go all dark and see what happens? Or are we actually going to light it up a little bit?
Well, for my part, while I'm on the watch and everyone else is sleeping, I'm happy just to use my dark vision. I don't know, and if Randuin also has dark vision, then we may as well do that one in the darkness, I guess.
Even though he has dark vision, Randuin would still keep a lantern ready. Perhaps turned off, at least the blocked off. But if he had any reason to believe that there was any sound or anything like that, he would immediately just shine his lantern on it to try to get a better look.
Okay.
So you have a lantern that's got the hooded closures on it.
And if it doesn't, then he can just cover up the hood if he has to.
Good enough.
So basically, you guys are only going to use the lantern if you hear something?
Yeah. I mean, Randy will probably use it a lot because he's paranoid.
Okay. Alright, so you guys settle in for the evening, and Varen's up on first watch, and you start doing your perimeter walks like you were wanting to, occasionally carefully stepping over Lafitte's alarm system that he set up.
Okay.
And a couple hours into your guard, your shift, it starts raining. The snow turns into a rain, and you see flashes of lightning in the mountains just to the east of you. As the rain's coming down pretty good at this point. It's getting pretty muddy outside.
Okay. I'll just pull my cloak tight about myself and lower my cowl and continue my watch until it's time for the next shift.
Alright. Some more time passes as you make your endless routes. Mud is soaking your boots that you currently have. Occasionally your boots sink into the mud and almost kind of, it's a sticky mud that almost kind of sucks your boot off as the water is really pouring down now. And the end of your watch comes where it's about time for the second watch to take over.
Okay. I'll go in and wake up whoever's on second watch.
I'll blearily look at you. Thank you, Varen. I'll take over from here. You get some sleep.
Of course. Thank you. I'm gonna grab me some sleep.
Okay. So you go to sleep, and it's now Randuin and Velius on second watch. And Velius, you said you'd go out every half hour or so, walk in the perimeter.
Yeah, about that.
All right. So you go out on your first round, and you see that the water is starting to stand. There's so much water coming down, and it's getting quite muddy, and every once in a while you see some lightning strike nearby. You hear the loud lightning in the distance.